All right, welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Edge. This is an RPG and gaming news podcast. My name is Hat.
And I'm Eric.
And I am Stan.
And today we are going to be getting into some more Outer Worlds impressions. I've had a whole nother week to play the game. I believe Eric has been able to pick up the game as well. So we're excited to get into that. And then we're also going to be talking about some news with Final Fantasy 15 and the novel, A Dawn of the Future. We got some news surrounding the release date and some details about what's going to be in there. And then also we're going to touch on the Tokyo Mirage Sessions story, basically regarding censorship and that sort of thing. Just get into that and see what we think with that. And then also we're going to have RPGs coming out in November. And then finally, we'll wrap things up with a Discord question from Redfield. We'll try to get to the Discord question. We're streaming a little late here, but we'll get to it if we can. He says, have you guys ever played a game extensively, but for some reason never quite managed to see it through to the closing credits? Does it still bother you? I think my biggest issue with this is that I don't feel like I can fully say, yeah, I've beaten the game. I think that is why it bugs me. So if we can get to that Discord question with time, we'll see. If not, we'll definitely hit it up next week. But let's go ahead and open up the floor here. Well, first off, before I forget, I just want to throw out there that we are media partners with RPG Fan. So what that means is that we are sharing their material. We're assisting them with certain things. And then in return, they're helping us with other things as well, right? So, for example, this past week, they gave me a copy of The Outer Worlds for the PS4. They sent me a promo code or a download code for the PS4 on Sunday, and I was able to download that. And in return, what I did for them was I recorded my game footage for their video review. And they allowed us to, obviously have the game for free. We were able to talk about it on Tuesday last week once the embargo was released, a couple days before the game came out and stuff like that. So, really, really appreciate that. Make sure you go check out their review of The Outer Worlds. It's on their YouTube channel, RPG Fan. You can check out my gameplay on there. The review itself, the reviewer, he played the game as well. He just didn't have a capture card. So you can hear his thoughts on there. It's a great review. Definitely go check it out. Also, go to their website, rpgfan.com. They have several RPG podcasts on there. Retro Encounter is one of them, and then the other one is Random Encounter. So I think Retro Encounter is more like a book club type thing where they play games and they'll talk extensively about a certain game. And then their other podcast is more news oriented. So definitely go check them out on rpgfan.com. But moving on, let's open up the floor to what we've been playing. Eric, let's start off with you. Were you able to play The Outer Worlds?
Yeah, I was able to play a little bit. Just a few hours though. I'm still in the Emerald Vale, so it's not. I didn't make any significant progress. As much as I do want to get into it, and I did actually have a lot of fun with it. The game, it's just beautiful looking. I love the aesthetics of it. The story is already intriguing. The quest structure is pretty simple yet very dense at the same time. I feel like there's a lot to do without it feeling overwhelming. The combat is pretty straightforward also. I love that it uses the slow motion type feature instead of the kind of like turn-based thing that Fallout's usually known for. It's that same charm and feeling I got when I played New Vegas, because I didn't like Fallout 3 or 4 really. So but playing New Vegas, it felt like an exception to me, and I found out why, because someone else made it. But I had a real good time with it so far, and I can't 100% say if I recommend it or not. But as first impressions go, I was very impressed with it, and I'm going to get into it more eventually. But I got the Final Fantasy 14 5.1 patch coming out tomorrow, So I
Oh
told
shoot.
myself, don't play with so much because you know this is gonna eat your time.
Yeah. Dude, that game, The Outer Worlds, that has been the surprise game for me this year because I've just been eating it up like candy whenever I can play it. I convinced one of my coworkers at work to pick it up because he was a huge Fallout fan, and I told him like, "Hey, dude, like this is like the Fallout game that you wanted," because he was kind of disappointed with Fallout 4, and he didn't even try Fallout 76. And he picked it up and played it over the weekend, and then we talked on Monday, and he brought up a good comparison I never thought about. He said, "Yeah, it's a very, very Fallout, but what was unexpected for him was that it kind of reminded him of Mass Effect as well." And the more I thought about it, I think that's a perfect description. Like it's Fallout meets Mass Effect, I guess, because
It
it
feels like so many things are mixed into this game, but yet somehow it still makes its own identity. Like it's kind of got that uh I'm sorry, post-nuclear type of
are
thing,
post-apocalyptic.
like
Yeah,
Fallout, then you get like kind of like the craziness of Borderlands, and then of course like the space type deal with Mass Effect, like you said. It's like it's got a weird mix of a lot of familiar concepts, but they somehow create their own identity out of it.
yeah. Uh, One other observation I saw, it was on IGN's podcast Game Scoop. Usually I'm kind of iffy on IGN just because for various reasons, but one of the people on there, they said that this company, Obsidian, worked on KOTOR 2, and they felt that a lot of the dialogue options and a lot of the interaction with the NPCs reminded them a lot, and a lot of the storytelling, the way it was told, reminded them a lot of KOTOR 2. I haven't played that, but I've seen a fair amount of KOTOR 2 footage. I play KOTOR 1, obviously, but
It,
um, I felt like that from what I've seen, that was a reasonable comparison as well.
I think it's a good game. I don't think it outmatched the story of the first game, but I think as a
We're talking
standalone
about
title,
KOTOR 2, right?
KOTOR 2, as a standalone title, though, I think it does well enough on its own feet if you don't compare it to like the first game.
Sure.
But it's I'd still recommend that. I'm hoping that they re-release that game like they did with KOTOR
Yeah.
on multiple platforms. I want to see that on there also.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's highly recommend, Eric, that you keep playing it. I mean, it's just a really good game. It's really fun to play. Like the interactions with the characters are very unique and interesting. One thing that I've noticed while playing it that I didn't really appreciate initially was uh, like the characters when I'm interacting with them. Usually, I don't care for these like branching dialogue trees because there's all these different options. I'm never sure which option to choose. I don't want it to take the story in a way that feels unnatural or a way that I didn't want it to go. But I feel like it's really well struck this balance of I can choose an option and it gives me enough context to kind of get the idea where it's going to go. There's nothing surprising, but I'm still surprised about how the plot's unfolding or still interested to see what a character is going to say after I choose something. I know with uh, Fallout in general, I feel like has kind of felt stale in that regard sometimes, where it's kind of iffy whether those interactions are going to be very good. At least for me, I shouldn't say good. I should say satisfying to me. So, yeah, I'm still liking it all around. So, I
Yeah,
am it.
yeah. I haven't played Outer Worlds, but I know
Hey,
what you mean about the dialogue trees. Huh?
Stan, I got your camera set up. I'm only getting your eyes right now. You're kind of like on Home
Oh, really?
Improvement. Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not usually a big fan of dialogue trees,
Yeah.
but I do like how simplified feeling the Outer Worlds makes it feel.
Mm,
And the characters I've met so far are interesting enough that I kind of want to go through the different branches just to get to know them a little more, like the first companion that joins you. Like she
Pavarotti or
Yeah,
Parvati or however you say her name. Yeah.
yeah, I already like her. I already think she's a pretty cool character so far. So I click on her a few times, I get her dialogue, get what she wants to know. Then I find out,
That's
and I find out more about Emerald Vale and what kind of shady stuff happens on the side. And you
yeah,
know,
that's
so this is gonna end up with me doing something with the higher ups at the place eventually.
yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, expect like with her is a perfect example. Usually, I wouldn't think to talk to my companion in this type of game. Like, okay, they're probably going to say something generic. It's probably not going to be that interesting. Who cares? But sometimes I'll just stop and talk to my companions just to see what they have to say. And they usually it's nothing. It's actually substantive. You actually learn something more about them, and it's it's just really well written, I think is the biggest difference here. And like it's weird because this game just has a lot of charm and heart to it that I feel a lot of people thought anyways was missing from Fallout 4. So
Mm.
we're with all the Bethesda stuff, I forgot to bring that up. We're also going to talk about Fallout 76.
Yes, we are.
Fail.
Oof.
I should have said that at the beginning.
But
Uh, I mean, but with all the stuff they're going through, like it's going to be weird to see if a lot of that audience transfers over to the Outer Worlds. Now, I know it's not a exact replica of Fallout, but I feel like it's very much got enough of that there to really kind of take from that audience.
It's hitting the same beats,
Right.
basically, right?
Right.
Scratching the same itch.
actually just released a video today saying that you don't need Bethesda anymore, and I 100% agree with them. You don't need Bethesda to make your games anymore. You got other companies that can give you that satisfaction that you're looking for out of these games.
Hmm.
I mean, like I said, we're going to dive into this in a minute, but I think these other companies that are branching off, like I think it was 505 games for Bloodstain, like that. There you go. They came in and they scratched that Castlevania itch I've been looking for.
Hmm.
And to before Capcom became awesome again, Capcom was in a rough state. And to KJ Inafuni's credit, he tried to scratch that Mega Man itch for us, even though that didn't end up well. But I think we're getting into this era where the developers are seeing that there is a cry to back to the games that we used to love playing before they became too AAA mainstream.
Hmm.
I guess maybe is the way to put it. And I think a company like Obsidian is answering to the call. They want to make the games that they used to enjoy making, and they got to make this without some like AAA company just like telling them what to do. They got to make the game, release it on their own terms, no deadlines or anything from what I hear at least. And they didn't have to package any special editions. Like there's no special editions or pre-order bonus for Outer Worlds. They just released the game.
They're
And people
very
love it.
Yeah, they were very honest about it too. I mean, they said in their marketing, "Hey, we see a lot of people comparing this to like the next Fallout. We appreciate that comparison, but just be forewarned that Fallout games we made one, right? They're very very large, very 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 big, right? And uh, so this game may not take you 100 hours or whatever to complete. This is going to be a little bit shorter of an experience, right? So just being that honest and forthcoming with what you're trying to do with the game, so that way people can make you know
Yeah.
wise decisions with their money. That's something you're not seeing right now with Bethesda, with the Fallout 76 stuff. I mean, it's just it's these companies, they got to watch out because some of these smaller studios are going to come along and just say, okay, we can do this without you. I mean, we have things
Hmm.
like with Bloodstain where they were able to get crowdfunding and they were able to go out there and collect money and pay for the development costs of that game. And they don't always need these huge AAA studios. I mean, obviously, if you're trying to make a AAA game, having $100 million budget helps, but I mean, it's becoming easier. So that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like this is kind of what we were speculating about when Outer Worlds first popped up on our radar, because we knew it was going to be a Fallout like game, and then it's kind of like, well, if they really hit a home run, and with Fallout kind of their franchise kind of in a rough state, like are people going to go back to it, like, or are they just going to wait for Outer Worlds 2 or whatever Obsidian's next project is like?
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have to wait for Fallout 5 or whatever the next entry in that franchise is going to be if they can get it elsewhere.
Right now, no one cares what Bethesda's even making right now.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to show anything. So, like, I think people have stopped caring about Elder Scrolls 6 or.
Dude, Fallout 76, whoever let that thing come out, like that has murdered their brand. Like literally murdered it. Like 2 years ago, like people were still very positive of Fallout.
Yep.
But this
showing the worst side of Bethesda, like the absolute worst side. It's like, I mean, if we want to just like straight out jump to that topic,
sure.
Might as well.
6
Yeah.
is what I believe is just the worst qualities that company has all meshed into one thing. They have the notorious bug-ridden games that Bethesda always releases, famously, on top of it being an online game.
The Outer Worlds does not have a lot of bugs, by the way. Keep going.
Yeah, from what I hear, the Outer Worlds has the standard amount of bugs. So nothing major, something you can easily fix in a few patches.
Right.
So, but I mean, Fallout 6 is just a mess just from day one. Just like every other week, I hear something bad Bethesda did. Like, and the most, like, we got the most recent one now where they're trying to charge $100 a year or $12.99 a month, depending on which one you do, to get access and features for things that should kind of be in the game already available to people, especially since the state it's in right now. They're like, okay, so if I want to backpedal a bit,
Sure.
they Fallout 76 came out with like mediocre to negative reviews. There was little to no content. There was not even any NPCs or anything like that. What they depended on was people to create their own content out of these open world type of deals. And it just backfired poorly because, eventually people found out there really is nothing to do and they quit.
Well, the idea was that you spend $60, you get this game. There's no NPCs because there's supposed to be thousands of people playing, and those people are going to be the NPCs, and you make your own adventure. And and they promise not to monetize this game. Like you buy the game, that's it, right? I believe was the promise.
Well, what they promised specifically was they wouldn't add any pay to win elements, even though they did do that a few months down the line. They gave you could buy these packs that would, from what I remember, there were packs that could help you get your stuff repaired and stuff faster, so you can go through the game or don't have to deal with the grinding elements that come with that. So that is a little bit of a pay to win type of deal, not like an absolute pay to win type of deal, but like how to get an advantage over others with pay.
Right.
So they had that going and everything, and they acknowledge that Fallout 76 is not in a state that people wanted it to be. So they're like, we got this major, beautiful magic patch coming out, and a battle royale thing with it too. And they was supposed to come out with that this year, but then they announced that Magic Patch is not actually coming out till 2020 now, quarter one 2020. So people are like, okay, whatever, it happens. If it gets delayed, it has to get delayed. But then, very soon after, they offered this $100 subscription model that gives you like certain perks. I have the site up now. They give you perks like your own private worlds for like you up in the 7 people, and unlimited scrap box storage, a survival tent. Um, you receive 1,600 atoms per month, which is the game's currency, and some like exclusive emotes and armor.
And the survival tent is supposed to allow you to fast travel anywhere, right? So I guess you can,
You can
uh,
place your own fast travels essentially.
right. So
And
go ahead.
got really mad that they're trying to offer this type of subscription service to a game that's in such a broken, horrible, ridden state and has not been fixed yet. And people feel like this game does not deserve those subscriptions at all. And the worst part of this is the subscription is bug ridden, absolutely bug
Yeah,
ridden.
it doesn't even work.
The private worlds that they offer you are actually public worlds already used by other people, and people in those public worlds can still see those private worlds.
Hmm.
And the other big complaint was the unlimited scrap box was deleting your items in it. So if you had some rare special weapon or armor and you put it in there, there was a chance that a bug would completely delete those
Yeah,
items.
and they tried to deny that was happening until so many players showed that it was happening, and then I
Yeah,
don't
they had
think
to
they were
post
trying to,
evidence of it.
yeah, I don't think they were trying to be misleading. I think they just I don't know, they responded poorly, but
You
I
want to know
mean,
how poorly they responded? One of the people bought their Fallout First domain and just vandalized it. Like, like I don't want to say the word because I don't want YouTube to do anything to it. But let's say crap posting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean from that.
yeah.
The guy just wrote all this obscurities and just like what Bethesda actually means with this stuff, and it's hilarious. And he's actually holding it for ransom. The person who took over the domain, and the only thing he wants is to be able to personally meet with Todd Howard and give his criticisms of the company. That's his only demands. He doesn't want money. He doesn't want because he only spent $27 to buy that domain. That
Why this is what this is literally how focused they are on this game. Like, how could that possibly happen? You know?
such a dumpster fire right now, just to put it nicely. That like
Well, and the other part of this too, that yeah, the other part of this too that's going on is that the people that pay this $100, they're called Fallout First players, and apparently part of that also, I think Eric mentioned, you get specific armor to kind of signify like, hey, like you're a paying member of this world. Well,
Amazon who spent $100.
yeah, well, apparently it's become a thing now to harass people that are wearing this armor in the
Mm.
game. If they see somebody that's a Fallout First member, apparently it's also like kind of dubbed with your name and stuff that you're an elite player or whatever. Uh,
Hmm.
like apparently it's becoming a thing where players are actually getting like harassed to the point where they can't even like enjoy the game because they paid this money, and like people are so upset that somebody would actually spend that $100. And that's taken a little too far. If somebody spent $100, let them enjoy the game, even if
Right.
it's bug ridden. But
Hmm.
I think the
Do
summarize
what
this,
they want with their money.
yeah, I mean, I think in a nutshell here, like Bethesda has literally in this single project taking something that would like took them like 20 years to build that brand, and they just like murdered it in like a year and a
It's all
half.
gone. Yeah, all the goodwill they had with Skyrim, right, and all the Game of the Year awards that won all those
Yeah.
years ago. The company is just as low now as they were high, like back then.
Right.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
I don't know how you just keep having bad news about your company like every other week. It's just absolutely insane. Like
Yep.
who is their PR person? Like they are putting no effort to make their game look good or
Yeah.
anything like that, or at least have the audacity to just hide from the public spotlight until you can get your company and games back together and on track. But they somehow, some way come back and announce things like this. And granted, Final Fantasy 14 1.0, the last 6 months of the game did ask for a put the subscription service back in, but we actually got something like that, like um they proved themselves through 1.0 by improving that game itself,
Right.
that that there was high potential, so it felt like it was worth to get on that subscription. And it actually ended up being the case, because when A Realm Reborn 2.0 came out,
Well, they remade the game.
like
Like
that
that's
subscription,
yeah.
a permanent discount on their subscription.
See, and that's cool. But the thing is, it's not it's
That's
not
any good graces, though. That's the problem.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure people are even mad about that, but I think that it's more reasonable to uh, pay for a subscription for an online game that's not only fixing content, but they're completely remaking a game from the ground up, like cutscenes, like just I don't want to say remaking, but making a new game basically from the ground up. I mean, that's a lot to do. And what you're getting for that subscription is the ability to play this new content, right? But for $13.99 a month, apparently this is you can pay $100 or $13.99 a month. So if you're paying $13.99 a month to
I will
get,
give them a little bit. 12.99.
oh, is it $12.99? Okay, $12.99 a month. Okay, to get a survival tent, a scrap box that'll lose your armor, the ability to play on a private server with your friends, and a ranger outfit and some unique icons. That's not you're not coming out with an expansion. You're not like expanding like NPC storylines. You're not making a new continent for people to explore. Like
No.
you're giving them something that like took you like a week to make,
But they
you know?
are battle royale.
Oh, who cares?
They made a big deal about it at E3. They're like, new mode that will change your mind. Never done before in any game ever. Battle royale. Like,
Like,
oh my god, Bethesda.
is this an old trailer from like 2002? I mean,
What's your E3? And when they talk about Fallout 76, you remember that one guy in the audience that kept screaming his ass off?
for Fallout 76?
No, the Bethesda conference. Then when they had the Fallout 76 and the Elder Scroll Blade,
Yeah. Yeah.
they had some guy in the audience who was just like maniacally screaming every time like Bethesda said anything. They're like, "Hi, Fallout 76." Wah!
Oh yeah, I remember that now. People are like, did they pay that guy? Like, or
They
something?
must have paid that guy, because
They're like, why is this guy so excited? Yeah.
but yeah, during that conference they announced the battle royale mode, and you could hear him screaming in the back.
Yeah. So stupid. It seems to me like they were working on this project, and then maybe at some point they thought about, okay, this isn't going very well. Maybe we can just trash this project. And somebody came up with the idea of, oh, we'll just sell it, but we'll make it so like players make their own adventure, right? And then we'll promise not to monetize it basically, or pay to win mechanics. And maybe like people will think we're awesome, that we're doing this, but they failed to realize those are all good things, but you still have to make a good game. Like you can't do that and make a bad game and then be like, well, people don't like it, you know?
Yep.
So
It was such a new concept though for like an online type game. to be fair. And what they should have done is they should have had like an alpha open, free open thing
Oh
that
yeah, they're
will interact or react with each other on a couple servers and see if a concept like that works. If it doesn't, then you can be like, okay, so let's make it more like a traditional Fallout, except let's add the online elements in, which you're doing right now. That's essentially what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're putting a Fallout game in a world that has no Fallout in it, except the open world.
yeah.
And I think they should have just like tested the hell out of this first because the problem with the online game like these like really open sandbox type games is that the developers have something in mind that they want to make, and when they think that other people are going to act the same way as a developer intent, a lot of times with these open sandbox games they do not do that. They
Yep.
find their own way. They find a way to break the game and everything, and it's just it's usually sometimes it's for the sometimes it works out well. Maybe it's not developer intent, but people still found a way to make fun out of it. But it's just going south every way for this game.
Yeah. I mean, look, you could pay however much money to get the game, and then you could pay the $100 to get your survival tent and the ability to lose your rare equipment in the scrap box, or you could pay $60 and get the Outer Worlds, and it's not online, and it's not exactly Fallout, but it's enough of Fallout. I mean, this
But
is it's just such a better deal. Like this
but
is
it's a
a
good game.
yeah, this is this is like so good for Obsidian. Like, yes, we're so glad you did this. Like literally like a few days within the time frame that we released our game that looks just like your game,
hmm
you know? So,
I honestly hope Bethesda finds ways to improve themselves, but for
well,
now,
sure.
you just need to depend on the people who do want to make the games that you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they need to hopefully take this as a lesson in humility, right? And I mean, because they're getting roasted, like you said, on a daily or weekly basis at this point.
Because everything
Eh,
they do just comes off as greedy.
Yeah, so they need to take a few steps back and regroup and take a note from Square Enix about how to handle a failed, launch of an online game, like 14 1.0.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Eric, what'd you say?
Shut it down and make a completely new game.
Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
we've all been, I think Square's had their own reason to be criticized, but they do a fairly good job of reacting to uh fan fan disappointment or criticism. I mean, when it's big enough, right? Like you said, they
hmm
remade Final Fantasy 14. People were really upset with the content in 15, so they went out of their way to do all this extra content.
Some of
Um,
that was free too.
some of it was a lot of it was free. Yeah, yeah, that's a really
Yeah.
good point. And then all these animes that are free, or at least episode art, and that was free.
hmm
The anime, anyways. And then with Chrono Trigger, I mean, they're out of touch. They put a crappy version on Steam. I mean, that got so much airplay. They just bit the bullet and they're like, all right, we're going to spend the next 4 months, 5 months remaking this. And here's line by line what we're working on. What are you guys still upset about? Okay, let's fix that too.
hmm
I still have a little bit of criticism with that version. I don't like the UI, but all in all, it's a really good version to play. So, I mean, like, there is a way to approach this. And I think that if Bethesda a year ago said, you know what, y'all are right, there's some really big problems with this. We're just going to bite the bullet and fix it because, Fallout's important to us and we want to maintain that brand and that it means something. And they did go back and I don't, it's hard to like say remake a AAA game like that, but I think they just used Fallout 4 textures. I mean, like and maps, like it's not like they started
Yeah.
from the ground up, but just taking it down and like going ahead and just rebooting it, taking a nod from Square Enix. I mean, that could have solved them a lot of criticism. So
I would have definitely done that. I would have shut that game down, let them remake a whole new game, release it, let the people who purchased the game, obviously get it for free,
Yeah.
and you know that FF14 did that, and that was one of the best decisions they could have ever made. Like, I purchased the original FF14. Because of that, I got A Realm Reborn for free.
Right.
Hmm.
On top of that, of course, I had to pay, if I wanted to play it on the console. But the PC version they gave me for free. They admitted they messed up. They, um, uh, God, I lost my train of thought here.
The-
They lived up to their promises after that, and because of that, FF14 has now become the like it's like even starting to top WoW now, at least in terms of like quality content
right.
and everything. So like they're pretty much the number one, number two spot in the MMO industry right now.
Yeah. So hopefully Bethesda can get it together, but this 76 stuff is a mess. But speaking of Square Enix, let's go ahead and transition into the Final Fantasy 15 stuff so we can keep this ball rolling here. So Final Fantasy 15, that book that they're making, that's supposed to be we were just talking Square Enix up so much, but the canceled second season, or the partial cancel of second season DLC. So if you remember, they were going to have all this extra DLC where you're going to have an additional Noctis DLC, a Lunafreya DLC, Aranea. We got the episode Arden, which was cool. I actually like that DLC. So we were going to have all this extra DLC come out and really expand the story in ways that fans wanted to see. And it was canceled after Tabata left. We don't know if that's why he left or what correlation it had with it. But around that time, it was canceled. And they had that debacle YouTube stream where they're like a 2-year anniversary of Final Fantasy 15. Everyone gets on and they're like, it's canceled. So Square Enix, that's what I'm talking about. They're out of touch, but they try once they get their head out of their ass. But
I guess this is the best they're willing to do at this point. I've always said in
the book, yeah.
Yeah, I've always said in the podcast that like they need to just accept what they made, just drop it and move it to the next Final Fantasy. And I think they took that advice because I believe that's what they did.
Yeah, I mean, directly from us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess really it was probably too expensive to just start doing all this stuff and too timely also when those people and resources could be used to like make Final Fantasy 16 or other games that are coming out. And a lot of people were starting to forget about the game already. Like you and I, like even you and I, for how much we used to talk about Final Fantasy 15,
Yeah.
have barely spoken a word about it. Like ever since they actually stopped, posting like news articles every week about it because we couldn't help ourselves. Like every week they had something Final Fantasy 15 related that needed to be talked about.
2 E3s in a row. Like the E3 before the game came out, and then the following year, like a whole nother E3 of just like the DLC and the VR fishing, and just like the Final Fantasy 15 frying pan. I mean, like just just like anything you can think of. But
Yeah.
this book it came out already in Japan on April 25th, 2019. It's called the Dawn of the Future. So it's coming out now on June 23rd, 2020 in North America. But given it's been out in Japan, if you go to finalfantasy.fandom.com, you can find a summary of the story.
What's in it? Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously it's not the full book. It's like 2 pages, right? So it's being translated now. But it's exactly what the second DLC was going to be. I mean, I think it's more detailed than the DLC was planning on being, because usually those DLCs came out and they're like an hour and a half, right?
Right.
So I mean, it seems to be going like way more in depth. I mean, you learn about episode Arden, like the events in between episode Arden, while fleshing out the anime episode. You learn about Aranea, like and why she chooses her own path. And, Biggs and Wedge are in there a lot more. There's this whole chapter with Luna Freya and like the astral plane, and she's talking with Gentiana, and she does all these things with the gods and Noctis when he's in the crystal world, like that whole time. So like it seems like really like just they're just touching everything. So my only hope with this that'll get me to buy this book is if they can get the voice actors from the game, at least for the English version, to read their chapters, right? So if we can get Ray Chase to do Noctis's parts, and then like Aaron DePaul to return as Arden, like I would just be, yes, Audible, here we come.
Yeah.
You know? What's that,
And
Eric?
I'm saying that's a very good idea.
Yeah.
And I'm not. I actually think releasing this book is a good thing because I mean I like the story of 15 in broad strokes. I like the world and ideas around it. I just thought the way they executed the story was done horribly. But the game does have interesting lore, and it is and people did enjoy. There are a lot of people enjoy this game too for the story, despite a lot of its shortcomings. So I think this book to close out and have those what if scenarios type also and the good ending I heard that is supplied in it also. There's a lot that book gives to people who enjoyed the story and world of it. So I think I'll say this as a first time for a FF15 hater. I think it's a good idea that they released the book. And like you said, getting the voice actors to read their stories is is a really good idea. On top of that, that would sell a lot of audio versions of the book.
Yeah, if they could do that, which I'm sure they could, but I think
Yeah.
I'll just point out, I don't know if I ever brought up on the podcast, but we were actually blocked for like a couple of weeks by Ray Chase, the voice actor of Noctis, on Twitter.
No.
Yeah, he blocked us.
No.
And it just came to me when I was looking at this, but
But
But-
I praised him all the time. I always said Noctis was a good character.
well, I don't even think it was because he listened to the podcast. I mean, basically, I followed him on Twitter with our Phoenix Edge account, and he said something like a project he was working on. He said something like, "Here's another kingdom I'll need to save," right? And I tweeted back at him, "Hopefully, they're not all dead by the time you get there this time." And like, I thought, like he didn't actually save his own kingdom. Like it wasn't his kingdom. He was just acting. So I thought like he would, self-depreciating humor. Like, he's criticized the game. He would like it, but no, he blocked us. So
You got to him, Hat.
I
That
know.
was the straw that broke the camel's back. Probably.
Well,
that
I mean,
day.
I'm sure
And he was like, it was probably not even the worst thing he got tweeted at that day, but he was like, you know what, I can't deal with this anymore.
done. I don't have
Yeah.
to deal with this. Well, the thing is, like, Ray Chase has always been so down to earth. Like, I've seen him on interviews and such where he's willing to criticize 15. I mean, I saw where he thought, the ending portions of the game, I guess I don't want to spoil the game completely, but the way the world goes, he was like, no, we should have spent more time there. And he was like, I feel like we should have had more time with Luna Freya. So he's definitely criticized the game at points, but yeah, just thought I would share that little caveat to this.
I'll say we've never we've joked about Tabata a lot, but we've never actually thrown any personal insults
At
anyone who voice acted or anything like that.
yeah, and I think Ray Chase is one of the better Final Fantasy voice actors. I mean, he did a great job with Noctis. So
Yeah, he was good.
I don't have a problem with any particular voice actor in that game.
yeah,
I think everyone, for the most part, did their job pretty well.
Yeah. Voice acting was not really a major issue, I don't think, for the game.
well, I was really surprised they didn't go with somebody more prominent for Jared, considering his major role in the game.
Oh yeah, is the details of episode Jared in the book?
I think so. Yeah, that's
It's
probably
like in
the prologue.
appendix in the back, maybe.
He's actually Bahamut. Yeah, he's just he's behind everything. Yeah. And
I still
it's
honestly
like episode Arden. It's like Arden's like locked up in the tower, and like Jared just like pops his head out from the dungeon door. Like, yeah,
I
I'm so
seriously believe there was supposed to be like an episode Iris one
dude.
time. And I
Yes,
think they were actually going to dive into that. And I think they just straight out took it out and just forgot to like make it work in the story when it really doesn't.
yeah,
I think the best thing they could have done if they were gonna go with the story, and not to spoil too much, but when Noctis, like you were saying, returns and there's not enough time spent in that world, right?
hmm
You could have had Iris and Aranea kind of explore what
with
happened
core.
during that time jump, because they
Yeah.
were still there the whole time. So
Well,
was a
and they
missed
did.
opportunity.
To be fair, they did have uh that online comrades, Final Fantasy 15 comrades that was supposed to explore that time in between the time jump.
Hmm.
You know, uh, I
I've
mean,
never done that again.
yeah, I played it for like an hour and a half, and I never played it again.
I
Uh,
didn't touch that. Yeah.
uh, it's supposed to be decent though, but um, so I don't know how much they emphasize Iris on there, but the thing always seemed like really low budget to me, so I never gave it a chance.
I
Hmm.
stuck my guns. I didn't purchase any of that DLC.
No.
The only thing I ever purchased was the base game itself.
Episode Arden. That DLC I actually really enjoyed. You should check that out. It was really good. So it was worth it. But anyway, so this book is coming out on June 23rd, 2020 in North America. We don't know if there's going to be an audio book. We don't know who would do the audio book, but hopefully it's the actors. So we're not saying that is actually a thing. But at the very least, the book will be out on June 23rd, and you can go buy it then. I'll probably check it out. Why not?
I think more curiosity will have me at least look through the wiki pages and be like, what did they do?
Yeah.
It could be a good collector's item too, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
What I want is them to translate that crappy Final Fantasy X novel where Titus like walks around with his head blown off
No.
as like a beach volleyball, and like Yuna doesn't like him anymore because he's like always just carrying his head around and just a pain. And yes, release that novel. I want to read that thing because I still can't believe it's a thing. It's so ridiculous. Anyways, uh, tangent. So moving on though to our next topic, Tokyo Mirage Sessions #Fire Emblem, because I know Eric said we have to say #Fire Emblem. The original Japanese game that came out on the Wii U, it had much more revealing clothes than the Western version, which was, I think in this case, I feel fine saying it was censored. Like, I mean, it's pretty, I don't, whether or not you care is a different thing, but it's pretty obvious when you look up at a character and in the Japanese version, she's wearing like a bikini. And then in like the English version or Western version, she's wearing a tracksuit. Like, it's like clearly like, that's they did that, right? So
Yep.
the new version that's coming out on the Switch, a lot of Japanese players pre-ordered this. A lot of people pre-ordered this version, and a lot of people thought it was going to be the Japanese Wii U version. It comes out, it's going to be the Western version that's censored, basically. So a lot of people are really upset about that. Nintendo did offer those people refunds because they felt like they could have done better, which was cool with them. But yeah,
I think the big thing was they didn't advertise that this was the Western version.
yeah,
Well, yeah, that's right. They had images of the Japanese version on the website, but then people found out it was actually the Western version that's going to be on
exactly.
there. Yeah.
And on the censorship thing itself, like I understand that on the Japanese side, like the advertisement and everything, but the censorship thing, I know I'm the unpopular opinion on this, but like the stuff they censored isn't like the biggest deal ever. What they did, like I'm even looking at like different pictures now, like they just took like scantily dressed teenagers and just put a little more clothes on them just so they can stick to that like teen rating
Hmm.
that I believe this game has. And to get the teen rating standard and here in North America, and I would imagine Europe also, is that you've got to you do have to make some of these alterations, like many other countries have to make alterations for theirs also to meet their own standards and everything.
I
So, if you're a person that likes the stuff genuine, I understand you don't want things altered. And I get that and I respect that. But to get these games over to the West to begin with, these compromises sometimes have to be made.
Well, here's the thing though, because that was, and I still think that's probably the case, but there is a small little room for argument with that though, because I was like looking at this, trying to see, and I saw that the Japanese system they go by I don't know how you pronounce it, Cero, Cero, which is their own rating system, and the original Japanese game was rated a B, right? And I'm like, what the hell is a B? Well, a B is supposed to be 12 and older, suitable for kids 12 and older. So the original game was rated B. The next step is C, which is 15, and then D, which is 17, and then Z is 18 and up, right? So this game was rated B for 12 and older. Now the teen rating for the ESRB is 13 and over, which is supposed to be mild to moderate use of language or suggestive themes, sexual content, and crude humor. So I suspect that they did the initial, clothing the girls for probably cultural purposes. Maybe they felt like over in the West, we were going to get upset about that more so because, we were starting to, women's rights was becoming a more prominent thing at that time. Well, it still is now, but maybe they just felt like it was going to be criticized more.
Yeah.
Just culturally insensitive, I guess is the right way to put that. But because I'm looking at the ratings, I think that they could have left these girls in their shorty shorts, and I think they still could have got a teen rating. I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't know if they're being sexually suggestive
I mean,
with
I'm
if
looking
their
at
boobs are bouncing around or something. I don't know, but I couldn't imagine the game was 12 and older in Japan, and it's not suitable for 13 and older in America. You know,
I will say, in terms of our standards with the ESRB, I'm looking at comparison pictures here, and there is stuff that is like that. It is pushing the boundary between teen and rated mature,
right?
and I'm very sure these game companies don't want a game like this, especially with Fire Emblem attached to it, to have a mature rating because that could affect sales of the game.
Sure.
And, so I do see it. Like, there's even one here where like a girl is just like straight out like half naked, and the censored version like puts clothes on her. So I don't know. Maybe that one's taking it a little too far. But then
Yeah.
the ones are just like very minor differences. It's like instead of just wearing like a bikini top, they put like a tank top like shirt on her. And this one, I mean,
It's crazy that that content was deemed acceptable in Japan for 12 and older, though. Not saying that like that's a criticism or anything like that. Just the differences, I guess I could say. That for them that was acceptable, given that they have all these different ratings. Like a C is for 15, D is for 17, a Z's 18. So I mean, the fact that like it's almost the rating given in Japan was almost for like toddlers, right? This
I,
was like the rating before everyone. It's kind of interesting.
I sent
Uh,
a picture to both of you, and I'm sorry, this one, she just looks stupid as hell not wearing pants. Like her design is, I mean, not even a censorship thing, just on a design thing. She looks so much better wearing pants. She looks like she forgot to wear her pants to
trying to
the
pull
concert, and like this one actually like gives her like a better design. I think like on an artistic standpoint, like this actually looks better.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if, I mean, we can go back and forth on why it was censored, but I wonder if the reason they're using the Western version isn't because they want to censor Japan or other countries also. It's probably just a factor of if they're going to re-release this game, it's easier for them to uh, port a single version of the game than try to port two different versions. And a lot of people said, well, why don't they just port the Japanese version and translate it? Well, that means they would have to re-record, 8 different languages for voice acting. Whereas if they just port the Western version and then re-record Japanese dialogue, then that's fine, because I think I saw where some of the, some of the scenes like are kind of rewritten a little bit too. So
If I had a theory, it may be that the Western version has a lot of fixes that the Japanese version didn't do. Like, like maybe bug fixes, or maybe there's like content added or balance changes that the game needed. And instead of trying to make all those adjustments for the Japanese version, that they were like, why don't we just port the Western version over the Japanese to Japan and not have to worry about fixing the Japanese version? That's my theory. I think it's
I
might
think it
be.
was just more cost effective. I mean, why would you
Yeah.
why would you port the Japanese version and then translate it for all these different countries when you already have those versions available?
Yeah, I think that's it overall. I think, like you just said, cost efficiency.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the only thing concerning, or uh, not concerning for us really, but it, if you try and put yourself in the shoes of a Japanese person who's kind of into that style the game has as it was released over there, like, well, us here in the West, we wouldn't want the re-release of our game, dictated by like the standards in China or something, right?
Right.
So there's like, people in Japan probably very ticked off that the Japanese Switch version of this game has its content kind of dictated by what's appropriate in the West, in a country they don't live in and in their daily lives probably have nothing to do with, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So from that perspective, I can see why Japanese people would be upset over this.
I
And that's
think
probably
that's
why Nintendo, you know,
yeah,
like we said, acted in the way that they did, allowed people to
canceled or
refund their game.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot more reasonable opinion to have if you are in Japan and like that's the version, you yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, I understand why the company is releasing the Western version in Japan, but I understand why somebody in Japan might be upset. But yeah, I mean, if you like the game and the only version you played was in English and you bought it on the Wii U and now that same version's coming out on the Switch, I mean, I don't
It's the
know.
same for you, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's the
if you
same
played
game you
the
played.
Western version before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I can understand being disappointed, that it's missing something. I mean, it's hard to tell because I mean, even with like Final Fantasy IV, for example, like the Super Nintendo version in the West, that version was substantially easier, right, than the Japanese version. So if that's the only version that ever got re-released, I mean, I guess I could see where I would want to criticize that and be like, "What? Why are you just re-releasing this version? Why
Hmm.
why why aren't you giving me the other version that's more difficult to play, like the actual version of Final Fantasy IV, right?" Um,
Yeah.
so I can see it going both ways. Yeah, but anyways, so we got some RPGs here that are going to be coming out in November, and then we started a little late with the podcast, so I think after we get through with these RPGs, we'll probably have to end the podcast there. And then Redfield, we'll get back to your Discord question next week. And I know there's some other Discord questions also, so maybe we can fit in like 2 Discord questions next week, depending on the topics. But let's go ahead and jump into RPGs coming out. Let me go ahead and get this set up here on YouTube. And now this first one's it's called Stone Shard, we were not sure. Like the trailer says it's coming out November 7th, but then when you go to their website, it says it's coming out in 2020. So I don't know. Maybe they didn't update their website, or but regardless, we can kind of talk about it here. Give me 1 second to get this video up. But
What I
what you
will
guys
say
think?
about it is
Has
this
voice
is
acting.
like really super old school RPG type looking game. Like the character doesn't even move up, down, left, and right, and like he's got like a wizardry Dragon Quest One type of, the character portrait just goes up and down, left and right
Hmm.
type of deal. Like it's like a mix of that and like Diablo esque uh, type of gameplay, like a dungeon
Right.
crawler.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird mix of like I'd say like wizardry and Diablo. I think is what they're going for here.
I think what appeals to this is that I saw it was crowdfunded. So, anytime that like something's crowdfunded like that, it's going to get a lot of hype surrounding it. And I think that, when you have that much communication with the people that are looking forward to the game, a lot of times there's a lot of player input and player suggestions being enacted in the game. So I think that just makes it more likely to be a really solid experience if you like this type of game, you know?
Yeah,
So,
I mean presentation value looks fantastic.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
For
And
sure.
their website, their Kickstarter says that it's procedurally generated. So
Ah, interesting. So
yeah,
the dungeons are going to be different every time you play it.
yeah, kind of randomized.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
So that adds a lot of replay value if you enjoy the game.
Yep. So, very, very cool. Did you see a price point on that?
I couldn't find one. No.
Okay. So
I
it's,
didn't see one either.
yeah. Well, check it out. If any of you check it out, and let us know, and we'd love to hear from you. All right. So our next game here is Romancing Saga 3. And this game is the first time it's officially coming out in English, right?
Mhm.
Most people, I don't want to say most people, but a lot of people obviously played fan translations. So the fact that this is coming out in the actual localized version is really, really cool. Let's get this on the screen there. Okay, so did any of you play this game growing up or recently, or any of you have thoughts on this game? Are you looking forward to this port?
I never played it just because I just couldn't get into Romancing Saga 2. Like it's not a bad game by any means, but it has such an open-ended structure to its game that when I played it, it felt like there was no real direction to what you're supposed to do or how you upgrade or what stuff you do to your characters. And because of that, like it just came off as frustrating to me to get into. But
Mm.
I know there's a lot of people who love this series, and I think that's a personal taste for me.
Yeah.
I like. I just couldn't get into the open-ended structure that this game has, but there is definitely a fan base for it. And I will say the presentation on this game is top-notch looking in terms of like
It
remaking the game. Like, why doesn't Final Fantasy VI mobile look like this?
Yeah. Yeah,
That
well,
makes me sad.
the art style definitely reminds me of Final Fantasy VI, to be honest, like just the quality. So I think that's like the thing is when I look at this, I'm like, oh God, this looks like this is amazing. But I've never really gotten very far in this game. I mean, I thought like the battle system was the way it was developed was kind of interesting because it kind of took a Final Fantasy II approach where, what you used is how you built stats, but it's a little bit more polished than Final Fantasy II, obviously. But I've just gotten kind of demotivated to play this game or continue with it because I've heard that the story starts off good, but it just doesn't go anywhere, or it's not very satisfying by the end. And I'm kind of a story guy, so when you tell me that, I'm like, I don't know if I want to sit through this. I'd rather go play something else. But man, like graphically, like it just like it looks really, really good. So maybe
Yeah.
this would be an option to play this time.
Now, for people who have played the game before, uh, it does mention here there is an additional storyline added to the game.
Mm,
So I don't
right.
know if that's enough motivation for you to jump back in and play through it again. And I will say though that like, man, the monster designs are really good looking too. This is like Final Fantasy level, like crazy looking bosses,
Yeah.
and like it's very impressive. And I think this game was made around the same time as Final Fantasy 6 and Chrono Trigger, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but
It
No, I
was
think
1995, yeah,
yep.
yes,
on the Super Nintendo.
yeah, so around that time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Um,
I mean, it's coming to the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PC, basically everything. So, I mean, depending on the price point of how much it costs, I mean, November 11th, that's a little bit before Sword and Shield. I mean, if it's reasonably priced, and I'm talking like I don't know, like $10, you know, I might pick it up for that price point. But
Probably won't be that cheap.
no,
it's even
it's
coming out on the Vita,
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy.
PS4, Vita, Switch, Steam, Xbox One, Windows 10, iOS, and Android.
Well,
Basically, anything that runs a video game is getting this game apparently.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that Skyrim has gotten it beat, right? Because there's versions of Skyrim on people's calculator,
In
but
refrigerator.
and refrigerator, yeah. But yeah, this is coming to just about everything. So very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Romancing Saga 2 is on the Switch already, has been for a couple years, and it's still priced at $25.
That's ridiculous.
So
And
most likely, since this one is a remaster, you can expect it to be the same, but most likely more
What if
expensive.
they go crazy and they make it like 35 or 40?
I think they might, yeah.
I don't think it'd be worth it.
No, it wouldn't.
Especially
I could
especially if
emulate it.
you've never been into a game like the Saga series before, because that's really Saga is really its own beast for better or worse. It's a very you love it or you hate it type of game.
Right.
Yeah.
So I really wish they at least offered demos with this if they plan on making the price point that,
Yeah.
Sure.
because this is a very like
Niche, right?
niche game. Yeah, niche
Yeah.
game is a good way to put it. Like, and if they offered at least like a few hour demo like they did with Dragon Quest 11, then like that would be a good way to work people into getting this game.
Hmm.
Yep. So I don't know. We're not saying it's $40. Check it out when it comes out. I don't think we have a price yet, so we'll have to wait on that. But yeah,
We're just saying Square Enix isn't above doing that.
charging outrageous sums of money for their games. Yeah, you know.
Hmm.
Yep. I mean, for a 15-hour Tokyo RPG Factory game, it'll cost $60. So, or $50. So, yep. Okay. So this next game, it's called Yaga, right? And this game is a little crazy, but let me get up here on the screen. All right. So,
You're a one-armed blacksmith, and you go around in a kind of like a beat 'em up type field, and
Yeah, it's kind of like a 2D top-down view, more of an action RPG.
yeah, I can say for certain I'm not going to buy this.
I mean, I
Yeah.
like the art style of it. This is the kind of stuff I like seeing in games, like this type of uh, the unique aesthetic, like art style type of deal.
The fact he's got
Um,
one arm and stuff is kind of a interesting, like quirky idea.
Hmm.
yeah, I don't. It's something I might try. I might be interested in trying, but I want to see how the reception is for it first.
Yeah, it's
or
coming out
dive
November
into it?
November 12th. That's too close to Sword and Shield. I'm probably gonna stay away. But I mean, yeah, like you said, it does have a very interesting aesthetic. It's very quirky and unique. So I definitely feel like if you play this game, it's going to be something that doesn't immediately remind you of something else, right? It's going to feel unique. So that's kind of interesting in this day and age, because a lot of times games are just copying a formula or another influence. So seems interesting, but I'll probably be passing on this one.
Yeah, they do offer a description here also. Smash, Clobber, and Bash, the murderous legend of Slavic mythology in this darkly funny action role playing game that changes every time you play. Play as Ivan, a one handed blacksmith with incredibly bad luck, who must take on the impossible task given to him by the Tsar. All the while, the mysterious witch Baba Yaga watches over Ivan's fate. The world of Yaga is a world steeped in Slavic folklore and ancient pagan beliefs, featuring a head bobbing Romanian hip hop soundtrack from Subcarpati and striking hand drawn 2D artwork. Yaga is an authentic love letter to childhood fables from Romanian indie developer Breadcrumbs Interactive.
None of that appealed to me at all.
Not the hip hop soundtrack.
Well, I
It kind of
I
sounds
didn't
like
grow up in
a
Romania either, so like it's just like, okay, these are like children's stories in Romania. Okay, I'm not a child, and I'm not in
sounds like a
Romania.
Bard's Tale type game where it's like
Yeah,
a comedic fantasy game.
Yeah,
Well, it's clearly not serious. Yeah, so
Mhm.
that was a very interesting description, though. Uh, I could, I don't know. Well, I'm not calling against it, but not a day
Maybe
one
it'll be on
purchase.
sale someday.
Yeah, maybe if it starts getting like crazy reviews.
If it gets to the Switch, it will reach me most likely.
Yeah, it's coming out on PC, right? Let's see here.
Epic Store exclusive, and then Steam later.
And then Switch. Yeah.
I don't think there is even a mention of Switch.
Oh,
It's just me going the usual Switch port win.
okay. Anyways, seeing in our notes it says PS4, Xbox, Switch, and PC, but that could be wrong.
I think it was announced for Switch. I'm not sure if it's coming out on the same day, but
Well, somebody check that out and get back with us. Next game, though, we have Rune 2 PC. Now, apparently, this is a sequel to Rune 1, which came out in like 2000. And I never played that game. But did any of you play Rune 1?
No.
I did not.
So we're Rune virgins here in regards to this game, now series. But I saw where people are really not happy about this game. Let me get it on the screen here.
Does kind of look low budget.
Yeah, so we get the original Rune trailer as well, so we can do some comparisons.
It's set in Norse mythology, and you're fighting Loki.
Yeah, it's not the most original thing, right? So, Rune 2: Age of Darkness. They're working on this game. It's a sequel to a game that came out like 18 years ago, 19 years ago, and some people have felt like graphically it looks okay, but they feel like it's not up to par with what they expected. I mean, it looks decent to me. I don't think it looks terrible, but some people have really felt like this trailer just has not captured, and they've released a lot of gameplay as well that has not captured what the original tried to be. That this is trying to be something else. And let me get that trailer up. The original
It doesn't look too different from
looks like a God of War
in terms of
ripoff.
like combat wise.
Yeah, I mean the first game, like this is a really low quality video because it's a 2000 trailer, but I mean it seems a similar concept. I guess it seems much more dungeon crawling, whereas the other one seems like it's a little more variant with its environments. So I don't know. The fan base behind the original are not behind this sequel, so that makes me not want to pick this game up. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this a game that's going to appeal to you?
No, I don't see anything about it that
Yeah,
draws me in to play it. I
not
mean,
making a very big splash on my radar.
I'm
And
not
like you
trying
mentioned
to.
with the
I'm not trying to rain on the Rune community's parade or anything. It's just like I've never heard of the series till now, so
It looks like it looks to me like Rune was the thing in 2000. People played it. It was popular for certain people, right? And then it seems like they're with this game they're trying to capitalize on like the God of War aesthetic because this just looks very God of War. I can see some of the combat here. It does look kind of low budget, but it seems very like if Kronos walked out here, like it would be very fitting. And I can see why people would think like, okay, like you're not making a sequel to the thing I liked. You're just trying to get me to buy this because you put a 2 after again the name, right? So I could see that. It's also going to be an Epic Store exclusive, which is another thing that pissed people off. So that was a nail in the coffin, I think.
yeah.
I mean that's starting to feel less and less relevant to me every day. Like Epic Store exclusive.
Yeah.
It's like whatever. It's like Outer Worlds. It's Epic Store exclusive. Also, in a way, not on Steam, basically.
Yeah, it's not on Steam.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I bought it at, I didn't buy it at all, but I could have bought it at GameStop, you know. But I see what you're saying. Digitally, it's exclusive.
All I'm saying is I'm enjoying the Xbox Game Pass service right now.
You paid $1, right?
$1 to sign up, yeah.
And then you got the game for free.
The game is available in their catalog. Yes.
That's a good deal. That's a really good deal. All right. This next game we have here, Paranoia Happiness is Mandatory. So this game again is like another kind of like a strategy RPG Baldur's Gate style game. But obviously sci-fi. But what do you guys think about this? It's
Looks like it's a goofy, humorous,
like Ghostbusters.
Baldur's Gate, like you said, Baldur's Gate like game.
Yeah. I like that. Like this is like a unique take on that formula because usually when you see these types of games, they're just trying to copy that, like something like Baldur's Gate, and it's like very medieval and it's very Dungeons and Dragons, and this is like a totally, you know, different take on that you don't usually see a lot of times with this like very sci-fi aesthetic, but it's also not serious in tone. It's very goofy. Seems like it could kind of fit like a Halloween vibe, which would probably be better if it came out around Halloween, right? Instead of in November 14th. But regardless, I think I could see this appealing to a certain audience. So,
yeah, it looks like a niche title, but I think people who are fans of this type of game will probably
dig it.
Enjoy this a lot.
Yeah. Let's see here. On our next game, we got Pokemon Sword and Shield. This is going to be.
Ever heard of that before? Pokemon.
Maybe a few times.
This, as my mom used to say, Pokemon. Yeah.
The Pokemon.
Me and my wife are ready to play this game. Got our Switches ready and everything. That's probably gonna be the game of the month for me, most definitely. And I guess I'll be going in detail with that also when it comes out. I haven't really dedicated myself to a Pokemon game since Pokemon Blue back on the Game Boy, but I think I definitely have a good feeling that this is going to be one that I'm going to want to put a lot of time into. Excited for.
Yeah, it looks, honestly, I've seen this a lot of people say this is whenever I bring up Pokemon Sword and Shield, they'll say, I haven't played Pokemon in 15 years or whatever, or however long. And my response is, yeah, I haven't played it since really the last one I really played was the 3rd generation, and I didn't even beat that one. The last one I actually legitly beat was Pokemon Silver. So I mean, I'm right there with you. Like with anyone that's saying that is like, hey, I have not played this in a forever, but like this seems like a console experience, and that's what I've wanted, at least when I was a kid from Pokemon, and I just want to experience that. So that's why I'm going to pick this up. It looks much more polished. I mean, obviously, I know we've talked about it, but people are upset, hardcore players, anyways, that you can't get like all 1,000 Pokemon or whatever on here. You can only get a certain amount that fit with the region. But I don't care.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna catch all 1,000 of them anyways. So
Yeah, we've talked about before. Like, I'm not a hardcore Pokemon person, so I don't have a really strong stance on that particularly. But I understand on the developer side how that would be a challenge to have all those Pokemon available.
yeah, yep,
And like, and especially converting to HD. But we've talked about that before.
yeah. Stan,
Um,
are you gonna jump in on the Pokemon train?
get your Pokemons on.
Probably not.
You gonna catch a
Um,
Magikarp?
just because, well, I won't count it out, but I still gotta finish Dragon Quest first.
Yes, he does need to finish
Yeah,
Dragon
you do
Quest.
need
He
to do
makes a
that.
tremendous point.
Yeah.
Well, good luck. It took me. Oh my god, it took me like 4 months to beat it.
Yeah, so I gotta devote most of my free gaming time to that one.
Yes, that was a indentured servant to that game for like 4 months.
I'm enjoying it. I made it a little bit farther this week, but I'll update you when I make more progress, I guess.
Cool.
Mhm.
All right, so there's Pokemon Sword and Shield. It's coming out November 14th. At least myself and Eric will be picking this up. So I'm excited.
And I'm glad Hat decided to get Pokemon Shield since I'm getting Pokemon Sword.
I'm probably going to get Pokemon Sword.
That's how it works.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I do.
Or maybe you can wait till next year and just get Pokemon Gun.
Pokemon Gun. Is
Gun
that the
version.
Yeah.
is that the
You know how they always release a third version of the game?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
People made a meme for a while, and it said like Pokemon Sword, Pokemon Shield, and
Oh,
it was like in green
dumb.
text like Pokemon Gun.
That's funny. I like that. uh Anyways, so another game that's coming out on November 19th on Epic Game Store for PC. So it's going to be Epic Game Store. Not quite exclusive, but Steam says it's not coming till 2020. So it looks like, you know, you can get it on November 20th on Epic Game Store. But it's Shenmue 3, a game everyone's been looking forward to. I know, Eric, you've talked about the Shenmue series, and I know you're kind of excited about this, right?
As a fan of the first two games, yes. Really, just from what I've seen and like personal feedback and everything when they release a demo, I don't think I don't think this is going to be some tremendous game. It's not going to be like a Yakuza level quality game. Like this is like a relatively low budget, very true to the Dreamcast and Xbox game, Shenmue, and it's definitely going to be for the audience that's been wanting this third game.
Yeah.
I don't think someone walking down the street should probably pick up this title and just be like, "Oh, it's in Shenmue 3." Like, uh, it's it's giving people something they've wanted since 2002, a conclusion to this story. Because Shenmue 2 left on a major cliffhanger, and the series was actually originally supposed to get like 6 to 8 titles to be like this big, long stretching series of like Ryu like going like the different places around the world. But obviously that didn't happen. So they're tying everything up in this third Shenmue game. And that's what everyone's really hankering for. They want to know how this game ends up. So I'm not saying the game's not going to be bad, particularly, but I think it's going to be a niche title for certain people who are just looking for the conclusion to this trilogy.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't played Shenmue 1 or 2, so I'm kind of indifferent about Shenmue 3. I feel like I need to play the other two to really get excited about this. I do see what you're saying, though. It's very true to the Dreamcast aesthetic. I mean, obviously, it looks better than a Dreamcast title, but it's
The character models do look like an HD, in my opinion, look like an HD res version of like the Dreamcast.
yeah, that's what I was
Fun.
kind of thinking too. Like, oh, it kind of looks like an upscaled HD remaster Shenmue game, but
I think it might be a little too mean on that end, but I plan on. Well, I technically already purchased it years ago, like back in 2016. I think I did
When they announced it.
when they announced it, and I put I think I put like $60 towards it at the time. So when it comes out, I should be getting a code for the PS4 version.
that would make me so nervous. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be lying awake at night, but 2016, if I paid $60 and the game's coming out almost 2020, like, am I going to be living at the same address? You know, like, am I going to be using the same email address? Like, like, uh, uh, I think in 2016 I was still living in California.
But the
I
good
don't.
thing is they have those backer things that you can go in and edit your email and your information and everything.
Yeah, but
And
come on.
and you're allowed to edit it like I think until about a month before the game comes out.
Yeah, but that's like my power company wanting me to like make a password for my online account. Like, I'm never gonna log into that.
Yeah.
So
Mostly my point is you're not completely screwed
right, if you want to follow up on it.
yeah.
Let's see here. Okay, so that is what it is. We'll have to see the reception for that. This next game is a game I'm absolutely picking up, Children of Morta. Now, this game has already been on PC, and this game is going to come out on Switch. This is the version I want to play, and it's an indie game, and it looks awesome. So let me get the screen up here.
Yeah, we did talk about it in
For the
1 or 2 podcasts ago.
Steam version,
But
yeah.
yeah, I still can't get over how gorgeous the game looks. Like I want this on my Switch.
Yeah, I mean, just like the way the pixels move, and like you can tell it's like it's it's not super smooth. It's kind of like a clunky animation, but in a nostalgic way. I mean, it's just the pixels just really pop, and it's just like a pixelated painting that I'm just watching here.
Yeah.
It looks really really good.
Yeah, I think that's fine as long as I think as long as that's like the intent in the design and the enemies work with that type of animation, then
Mm.
that's all fine with me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, everything about the game looks like just something I would and really enjoy playing through.
Yeah. Jim Sterling, he did a little review on this game because I guess he played it on the Steam version, and it got the Jim Sterling approval, and that's not easy to get. So just thought I'd put that out there. You know, he makes a living trashing games, so if he likes
At
it,
this point, anything that doesn't offer microtransactions or loot boxes, he's going to give like at least a side thumb to.
Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, it's got these rogue like elements that everyone's been talking about. So I'm just excited to jump in and actually see what everyone's been talking about. Again, I could have got it on Steam just because I've been looking forward to this game, and I kind of feel like I probably should have. But again, I have Crosscode on Steam, and I played it a lot on there, but I kind of stopped playing just because I wanted to play the Switch version. Yeah. So that's kind of like where I felt with this is I'm not going to get the the PC version because I just don't want this game sitting in my library when that's not the version I want to play, you know?
Right.
Speaking of Crosscode, that's supposed to come out this year too on the Switch, but we haven't heard anything. So
Yeah, I think
I don't know.
it's
I'm starting
going
to think
slower.
it's probably going to jump to 2020 unless they do like a surprise release.
I
within
asked
these
about
2
it
months.
on Discord a couple of weeks ago because they have their own Discord server, and sometimes the devs will talk on there, And I just said, hey guys, I saw that trailer where this game was supposed to come out, around this time, and how's that coming? And they said it's going. And I was like, oh, okay, well,
Like, oh, you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
yeah. So whatever that means, it's going.
If they don't have much to say, I really think it's bumping to 2020.
Yeah. Well, they kind of had. I mean, this is a little off track, but they've kind of had uphill battle to climb with that because they were still finishing off their crowdfunding rewards for the game. So they were still trying to finish that on the PC version first. So they're trying to do that content, but then they're also simultaneously doing a Switch port. So I applaud them for finishing off their promises first before just, jumping to the greener grass on the other side with the Switch port. But God, I want that Switch port. So,
Yeah.
Okay. This next game, and this will be our last game, Bug Fables.
I really like the look of this game. And I don't know if it's because it's almost like this game is almost exactly like Paper Mario in every way. But the aesthetics are so nice. And like it looks like really crazy and just like out of the box like Paper Mario is.
Right.
Like that, like it's really being driven by humor, this game.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that same Paper Mario feeling.
It's very reminiscent of Paper Mario.
Yeah, it's got an art style where like it purposely looks cheap, but it's done in a stylistic way to where like everything professionally uh, blends really well, right? And it's got like enough animations and stuff on the side to where you can just tell like it's not like a low budget game at all. I mean, I'm sure it's not, a AAA game, but what I'm trying to get at, it wasn't cheaply done. Like they definitely put work and time into this. It's got a very clear direction they're wanting to go with the style. So yeah, very Paper Mario.
And that's supposed to come out this month.
Yep.
Yeah.
November 21st on PC. So technically
I am
next
definitely
month.
keeping an eye on that. This game looks like it has a lot of charm to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely really, really cool. Looks like it's surrounding some bugs. Imagine that. Bug fables. But yeah, interesting. So I think that's going to wrap us up for this week. We did have that Discord question from Redfield. Again, we'll get to that question next week. Sorry. But we had a few things that we kept us delayed from starting the podcast. So it's getting pretty late here. So we want to just kind of cap it here, and we'll follow up next week with the next podcast. But appreciate you all watching, and check you out then.
All right,
Thanks,
take
guys.
care.
See you next time.